might be sat on a sweaty train or in a crumbling Victorian hovel. But for the next insert number of minutes, please, we'll be taking you back to nature. Because in each episode, we'll rip up the podcast rulebook and kidnap, well, lead, a different guest to their favourite local park. And there we'll talk about the things that they like to do. So pack a picnic blanket. Try saying that after a few Prosecco's. Our guarantee to you, lucky listener, is that this episode will contain one or more of the following: ice cream, swings, grass, dog walkers, drunks, canoodling couples, a possible mugging, and fun in the sun, unless it rains. So join me, Christopher Beanland, yes, that is my real name, and a special guest as we try to create the perfect park date. Clissold Park, North London. I could write a novel about all the things that have happened to me here. But this isn't about books, this is about talking. This is Park Date, a brand new podcast presented by me, Christopher Beanland. I'm a writer, and I'm going to be talking to different people in different parks. That's basically it. Every episode, different place, different person. We're going to be talking about life, and there's going to be a lot of laughs as well. We're going to start off this new podcast by talking to Kate Wills. Kate is a writer and journalist. You can read her column in the Fabulous magazine every weekend, and you can buy her book, A Trip of One's Own, which talks about female solo travellers, and is also a memoir of Kate's life on the road. I urge you to buy it and read it. Me and Kate hung out in the middle of Hackney in 3 different parks. St Thomas Square Gardens, St Thomas Burial Ground, and, because St Thomas was such a show-off, his recreation ground as well. If you like what you hear, review us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on social media. Park Date Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and the website is parkdate.co.uk. And at the end of every episode there'll be funny stuff happening as well, so keep listening. And let's crack on with the first episode of Park Date with me and Kate Wills. Welcome to St Thomas's Square. We had to look up the name of it to be sure about where we were. But this is a very secret park. We're in the middle of Hackney, but it's a secret park. And my guest today hasn't even been there before. It's Kate Wills. What do you think to St Thomas's Square?
Well, I love it. It's intriguing, isn't it? That it's so hidden away right off of Mare Street. I just had to check that as well.
We're right a couple of.
Where are we?
We've basically spent half an hour discussing our professionalism, but we are actually both
always pros. Yeah,
always pros.
We have our own style.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just need to have that quite kind of relaxed style. Putting people at their ease. You
say relaxed, I say car crash.
Car crash. That's what I was saying. And when Kate first saw this quite bizarre little microphone thing that I'm using for these podcasts, your reaction was, what did you say?
Just like a puppet of an old man.
Looks like a puppet of an old man.
But I feel like that people need to see that for that to be funny.
Yeah, I'll have to put a photo up.
Yeah, on the notes.
But it is. I mean, it's got this kind of like grey, like hair thing, which actually stops the wind noise.
Is that what it's for?
That's what it's for. But it does kind of look like an old
a little grey mop, little wizard.
We'll have to give him a name.
Yeah.
What's the name of the wizardry?
I don't want to know about your names for your appendages being land. You can keep that to yourself.
We'll talk about that after. Okay, we'll go for a little stroll around this square. This is a bit retro. There's like these kind of round flower bed things.
Yeah.
Which you used to get in the olden times.
It does feel like that, and there's like a nice tree that's sort of been sculpted.
Yeah.
Kind of topiary. Is that what you call that?
Topiary?
Yeah,
topiary?
That's a weird word.
It is a weird word. Do you know about trees, Kate? Do you know what kind of trees these are?
I wish I did. I had absolutely zero knowledge of plants and trees, having grown up in suburbia.
Yeah, it was in Kent, wasn't it?
It wasn't actually.
London.
It was, Surbiton.
Suburbiton. Hold on, that's southwest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
That's like, zone 6.
Yeah.
So, no knowledge of the natural world. But that's why parks are so great.
That's why they're so good, isn't it?
Even city folk like us can interact with nature.
Even though we don't know what the hell any of this stuff is. I know this stuff. It's like the short green stuff. Yeah. I know what that is. But I got more into house plants. I thought they were showing us in lockdown. I started growing houseplants.
You and every other hipster.
Yeah, it was quite predictable, wasn't it? But I was just sat in the flat. I needed something to talk to. I was talking to the.
Were you talking to the plants?
Talking to the Calathea, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
how are you doing? Have you had a nice day? Does he do that?
Apparently, it makes them grow better. Yeah.
Really?
Well, how are yours looking?
They look very good, yeah. But I'm a bit worried. Am I going to become like Prince Charles if I? That's what happens
That's
if you
the
talk.
natural next step for you, I think.
Just talk to plants, you become like that. What was your local park in Surbiton? Do you remember? Did you used to hang out at a?
I don't think there even was one. You know, like there were a few sort of patches of scrubland where people would kind of walk their dogs. Not dissimilar to this that we're approaching now. But I mean, I suppose the closest big park would be Richmond Park.
Oh, Richmond Park is fancy.
It's very posh.
Oh my God, we should have done the chat there. It's like being out in the countryside, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's deer frolicking. It's idyllic.
They do frolic. Right, I've brought you to St Thomas's long burial ground.
It is long.
It's very, very long. So I think this is like a graveyard or something. But this is like the next part of the secret park. It's like some kind of Charles Dickens world, isn't it?
Yeah, wow, it is. And these houses are actually kind of beautiful as well, just like flanking this park.
Flanking is a great word. I like that.
Thanks.
They are flanking the park in a very sort of historic.
I've never been down here before. It's kind of nice because you've got these Victorian terraces on one side, and then you've got like a big estate on the other. So it's kind of the two sides of Hackney.
Exactly. That's London, isn't it? You have these old parts and new parts, and then a park with people drinking.
Yes.
Which is always. Always find that.
No park is complete without that.
Exactly.
Normally it's me, but today no.
What's your favourite park drink? Bacardi
good
Breezer?
Question. It did used to be a Blue Wicked. But,
oh my God, those things are so sweet.
I've probably moved on from that now.
Yeah.
I quite like a thermos of something hot, like a mulled cider.
Right.
That would be a good park drink for me because I feel like it's always cold and I'm never wearing appropriate clothes. In fact, now I'm actually freezing.
Are you cold?
Yeah. I don't.
Kate's looking very cool. You always
literally cool because I'm freezing.
Because you're freezing. You always look very cool. But you had to do. Did you have to do a shoot for the podcast that you were on?
Well, it wasn't really a shoot, but they filmed it, and I've been caught out like that before, where I thought I'm just doing a podcast. I'll literally turn up looking like death, like I've just been dug up, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, we're filming it for our audience," and you're like, "Oh,
no!"
So I did make an effort for this one in case you sprang it on me. Look at that house there, that's amazing.
1903.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool, isn't it? I'd live there.
That looks like something from a storybook.
It does, doesn't it? That's how a kid draws a house, with like a like sort of red.
All the ivy or whatever that is around.
Exactly.
And there's some bluebells there.
Bluebells. You're painting such a good picture.
Yeah, I'm just trying to...
You could be like my co-host.
I'm trying to take people on a journey with my words.
Sonic journey.
And look at these
what is
tombs.
This? A tomb, exactly. This is what's great about parks. You can have these like explorations, can't you?
I mean, it's kind of random. I guess maybe back in the day there were more of these, and now there's only 2 kind of raised tombs out the ground. That's amazing.
It's cool, isn't it? It's cool, and it's good that they kept it rather than like building a house on it or something.
Yeah, wow, it's like a little cemetery.
I loved all this stuff when I was a kid. I remember we had where I lived, there was like an old church, and you could kind of go in the graveyard and go in the woods. Did you like to climb trees, all that sort of stuff? I loved climbing a tree.
I can imagine you doing that, Chris. But cemeteries are cool as well. I don't know if they kind of come into the parks.
Yeah, I think we can allow them. But the one in Stoke Newington's really good, isn't it?
And the Nunhead Cemetery is amazing. Have you been there?
No. Where's that?
Oh, that's in South London, kind of Nunhead near Peckham, and you can actually see St Paul's and loads of the city from this viewing point there.
Right.
I think it might be like one of the biggest cemeteries, and it's definitely one of the Magnificent Seven. You know, you've got those 7 great cemeteries in London.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
You've obviously, as a with your travel writing hat on, you've been around the world and seen a lot of places. Have you seen any kind of cool parks in other cities around the world that you've enjoyed? I mean, we were talking about we both love New York, don't we?
Well, yeah, I was going to say Central Park is the classic.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is an interesting one, actually. Central Park. I feel like no one actually does parks as well as the UK, I have to say. Other cities with parks, I'm trying to think. I've been to some cool sculpture gardens and parks like that. I went to a cool one of those in Stockholm.
Yorkshire Sculpture Park.
And then there are... Yes, that is good. And then there are like some amazing kind of... Like I'm thinking of those... trees in Singapore. What's that called? You know, that's like right on the bay.
Gardens by the Bay.
Gardens by the Bay. And then apparently Russia has some incredible parks too that have got like apparently there's one in St. Petersburg that's got all these like kind of rotting like statues and signs. It's just become like a kind of graveyard for all cool. of this like old propaganda. So I'd love to go and see that. Maybe not right now. But
there's lots.
Yeah, head to a park if you're in a new city.
Exactly. Let's go down.
Nice.
There's another bit of this park down here. Let's go and look at this one. This is St Thomas's recreation ground.
St Thomas, he was busy.
He was very busy.
How many parks does he need?
There's another 10. Yeah. No, I'm just joking. This is the last one.
I can't believe I've never been to any of these before.
I know, it's fun. Well, they are.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, isn't it incredible? Everything's
my god,
so hidden away. That's why you should look at all the things you can sort of find in your local area. What's that weird building thing?
I have no idea. It's kind of got like Tudor beams, but it's like derelict.
Yeah, very weird. And more
tombs.
Tombs, exactly. Probably haunted.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to come here at night, I have to say. Like, look in there, it's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, so it's like an abandoned building with lots of graffiti.
Yeah, there's a proper Blair Witch Project vibe going on in here, isn't there? We should definitely not come back here at night.
Oh my god!
And so
it's like Bible verses written on the wall,
and quite bizarre graffiti. Yeah, very strange, isn't it?
I've not been here before. Do you hang out here regularly, Chris?
Yeah, I come here every day.
Yeah. You wrote this graffiti, didn't you?
Yeah,
Be honest.
I've actually authored it, exactly. But yeah, no, there's so many different types of parks, and one of the things that we've talked about before about parks was the idea of these female pioneers in parks, which is an interesting one, isn't it? Like the one which you wrote about for me, which I've enjoyed seeing before, is the one in Shoreditch Park, which is the...
Yes, Dorothy Thurtle.
Yeah,
Memorial. Which I feel like parks are really the place to go if you want to find out about cool women, because it's often where we seem to stick our sculptures of women for some reason. You know, they don't get the like big squares or the like important monuments. We just get the parks. But yeah, Dorothy Thurtle was really cool. She was actually the mayor of Shoreditch.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was one of the first female mayors in the 1930s, and she did amazing things
campaigning
for women's rights, especially in like birth control
contraceptive rights,
free abortion. And loads of people don't know about her. So yeah, she has that little memorial garden.
Yeah, the garden and the bench. Dedicated to her. And I think that's, I mean, I didn't know Dorothy's story, and then I saw that bench when I was in Shoreditch Park, and it made me think, oh, this is, you know, something that's actually interesting. I didn't realise.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting one, isn't it? And there were a few others as well that you mentioned to me, weren't you?
Yeah, there are so many actually. One really cool one that I like is in Tavistock Square. Which is Noor Inayat Khan. She was like one of the first female spies in World War II, and she just had like a really amazing life. You know, she was born in Russia, but she was of Indian descent, and lived in kind of Paris and London. She was like a children's author and a really amazing musician, and then she kind of signed up to work for the war effort, and ended up being a secret agent in Paris. She basically she kind of was one of the most important figures in World War II, and she was just incredible.
Yeah, she was incredible, wasn't she? And that was another story that I didn't know about until I saw her statue. And I saw her statue when we were on your book launch tour.
Right. Yeah,
when we got shown her statue and told her story. And it is a fascinating one, isn't it? She was really brave and
amazing. And that's actually the first Muslim woman to get a statue in the UK, the first and only, in fact. She's the only one. Her life and her bravery is amazing, and I can't believe more people haven't heard of her.
Yeah, so go to Tavistock Square Gardens and have a look at that. The stories that you told in your book, A Trip of One's Own, are also really, really fascinating. I learned about so many women whose stories weren't told. So your book is kind of about, well, I don't know why I'm mansplaining
this is what it's all
mansplaining your own book to you.
Feel free.
But yeah, it's kind of like pioneering female travellers, right? And their stories.
Yeah, but I kind of started to realise that there were all these women who'd made these journeys kind of through history. Actually, all the way back to the 4th century, there was this nun who was travelling around on her own, and I just thought that was really cool. And when I looked into it more, I realised there were loads, and so I started kind of retracing their journeys and taking trips that were inspired by them. But even now, when I'm walking around, I'll find a plaque or a bench or a statue, and it'll be something really cool that I haven't heard about, some amazing woman who's done something so groundbreaking, and it's just like a really nice jumping off point, I think, to discover a bit more about history.
Yeah, and there's so many stories that haven't been told, have they? These women that you talk about did these amazing things, and they weren't really recognised. So it's good to kind of tell their stories. Were there any particularly that resonated with you?
Oh gosh, so many. I mean, all of them kind of did in some way. One that I was just speaking to someone about earlier was Nellie Bly. Do you remember
Nellie
her?
Bly.
So she was an American journalist in like the 1890s, and she went around the world in 72 days kind of trying to break that Jules Verne record, and she was just amazing. And then there was a woman called Jean Beret who disguised herself as a man to get on a ship and travelled all like around South America and kind of brought back all these amazing plants like bougainvillea and stuff. And just never got any credit for it, basically. The book is full of these inspiring women who were kind of overlooked and have been written out.
Yeah, and it's really really important to hear about what they've done. And were people kind of surprised when you talked to them about the book that they didn't know these stories?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, some people have been surprised, and then also, like, since the book's come out, I've had lots of people write to me and say, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't include X," or "Have you not heard about Y?" And so, there were actually many, many more that I just couldn't fit in. You'd be amazed at how many women were doing cool things, and especially when you put it in perspective, like at that time, for a lot of them, they weren't even allowed to cross London unaccompanied, let alone, go to the Middle East or wherever they were going. So if you kind of put it in the context of the time, it's even more incredible.
It's really important to remember these things, isn't it? How kind of repressed society was, how completely repressed women were up until recently. Obviously, we've still got so far to go on so many things. But when you look at the fact that you couldn't like travel without your husband or something.
And obviously, there are still countries where that's the case today.
Very true.
Yeah, it's important to remember that. But actually, like, traveling alone is an area where I feel that there isn't equality, like anywhere, because men are so free to do things like hitchhike or camp out alone or just have these freedoms to explore, that women are kind of told, like, oh, come on girls, like, stick together, don't go off on your own. And there's a kind of feminist act in travelling solo for me.
Yeah,
because of that.
That's a really really interesting point. And you've obviously enjoyed travelling around the world yourself and kind of experiencing all those things.
I have, although I feel like I haven't done so much of it lately because of pandemic and having a baby. But that brings us nicely on to the other aspect of parks for me, which is that since becoming a mother, I feel like I've spent my life in the park, and not even in a bad way, because I feel like we all did that in the pandemic, right? It was like the park was our only kind of place to hang out. It's like our entire social life. It's like being a teenager again. Yeah,
it's like being a teenager again, exactly. And one of the things I was thinking of is that you go to the park as the first place that you get taken outside the house, right? When you're a kid,
the
first place that you go is the park, and that's like the first place that you learn.
Some kids playing
around here, like
right
that's,
on cue. Yeah,
that's what parks are for. It should be a place where everyone can go and do that. And certainly, I remember, having fun on the slides and all that sort of stuff. Does Blake like to go to the park?
She loves the park. I mean, Victoria Park is our local park, and it's actually a great one. And that's got the pavilion and the lake and the ducks and the little pedalos and stuff. It's actually a bit like Central Park in that respect. But that's also got the Angela Burdett Coutts fountain, another really pioneering woman of her time. She was like a huge philanthropist in the Victorian era, and married her 29-year-old secretary when she was 67, which is a story that I absolutely love. Go Angela.
Yeah, guy better watch out.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for my later years when I'm going to have a series of toy boys, and
that's what you've got.
She's my inspiration.
She's your inspiration. We were obviously I'm interviewing different people in different parks, and when I had to break it to Kate that another interview had taken place in Victoria Park.
No, I got gazumped.
You were not happy about that at all.
Yeah, that's my park.
That's your park.
And that's the great thing about parks, is you do feel really territorial over them, and you feel this sense of ownership, even though they're obviously for everyone. I mean, what's your park? Like, what would you feel like is your park?
That's a really good question. I think we're quite near London Fields. I guess I spend quite a lot of time in London Fields because I go to the Lido, right? So there's that. I really like Clissold as well. But I guess there's a very scrappy bit of grass by my house. I think you've ever been to my house, but right next to it there's this just a little bit of grass. I think it was a bomb site, which they've called St Jude's Gardens.
Okay.
There's a lot of saints
there are.
getting there.
They get their parks.
Yeah, they get their parks. But yeah, it's a very, very, very small little park, and actually that's quite nice just to go out and have an ice cream.
Yeah.
There.
Do you treat that like your garden?
I treat it like my garden.
Yeah.
And actually, when I sunbathe naked there, people sometimes get quite
get a few get
quite annoyed because I'm just treating it like my garden.
Exactly, and why not? Why the hell not? I like to picture you being land eating your ice cream in the nude.
Everything hanging out.
Yeah, why not?
I have to point out that's not actually true.
Yeah. Don't try that at home.
Definitely don't try that. It's funny though because I like the vibe there, but it can sometimes be. I mean, the thing is, a park is a public place, and sometimes people will come and piss in the park, or people will come and do, it is London, people will come and do crack deals in the park, and then you have children playing next door, so it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe you don't get that in Victoria Park so much, is that more?
No, I think it's getting a bit too bougie, but I'm sure you probably do, it's so big, I feel like there's kind of corners for all sorts going on in parks. I mean, that's why they're great. Yeah. Is that you do kind of find all human life in all its glory. Yeah,
maybe too much, but I think it's. I mean, we've done a few park walks since you've become a mum, whereas maybe in the past it would have been some kind of prosecco fuelled.
Cocktails,
cocktail night,
bar hopping. Whereas now it's park hopping.
From bar hopping to park hopping.
That's going to be my next memoir.
Exactly, volume 2.
Yeah.
But no, I guess like it is. You need those spaces. I imagine, not having kids myself, but I imagine you need to get out of the house. You need to like have some
big time. Yeah, the park is like your salvation. It's like it's so crucial to have those spaces near you where you can just let your toddler off the leash and they can just run around and it's and just walking as well, even when you've got like a little tiny baby, all you can really do is go for walks. So the fact that you can do it in a nice green space rather than on a dual carriageway is kind of appreciated.
Do you have like sort of cool mum groups? Do you guys all go and hang out in Victoria Park?
I did a bit of that, but obviously because she was born in the pandemic, it was kind of hard to meet, although the park was our only option. I do remember kind of meeting some new mum friends in like torrential rain in Victoria Park and sort of standing under a tree for some like brief shelter.
Oh no.
And we were just like, this is really kind of quite bleak.
Yeah.
But you're desperate for some human company, so
which we all were in the pandemic. Like we needed people. I think it reminded us how important people are in life. Life is nothing without people, is it? And it must have been hard because I guess when you're starting a family, you need support and people around you, don't you?
Yeah, ideally, but also it was kind of nice in a way to just really hunker down and hibernate as a little family. And I think I didn't leave the house for like literally 6 weeks after giving birth, but then once I did, it was like little baby steps, and then a bit further in the park every day, and I must have done so many laps of Victoria Park by now.
They're big laps. I feel like we're doing
quite small ones.
I'm actually starting to think, is this a bit ridiculous? We need to keep walking around in very
it.
Do you like it? It's kind of weird, isn't it? I'm like, does this feel a bit strange doing these like small laps?
No, whereas I like it.
Vicky Park is like one huge...
It's expansive.
Yeah, like one lap is kind of enough, isn't it?
Well, you would know because you took someone else there for the podcast.
Well, I don't know if I should say this, but that has actually, we actually had to like cancel that one, which makes it even.
Now it
makes it even worse.
I see.
But yeah. Well, I mean, maybe you'll be the first person who appears twice, and we'll do.
All right.
You don't look happy about that. Don't look happy at all.
Second choice, Victoria Park.
Second choice, Sally.
I mean, I'm happy to discover a new park.
Yeah, I want
I
want to bring you to a new.
Broaden my horizons.
Broaden your horizons.
Thanks, Chris.
Exactly.
What would I do without you?
And also, this is a free idea for your next column. Kate does a column for Fabulous every week. I
do.
Which is always a good read and always funny. Crucially, it's the best writing, as we both agree, is funny writing. But have you ever done a column on parks? Maybe you could
I actually haven't. I should.
Yeah.
I should. I mean, lockdown would have been the time to celebrate parks, but why not?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it and plug your podcast.
Yeah, well, that sounds great.
And forthcoming book.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Available in all good bookshops.
So I hear. As is yours as well. And for American listeners, it's going to be out very, very soon. Well, I think it'll be out by the time this podcast is out. And then in paperback in the UK, right?
Yeah, so it's in hardback now and then in paperback in July.
Yeah, you should go and... Just go and write it. Go and buy it. Go and write it. Write it.
I've already done that.
You've already written it.
Yeah.
You've already written it.
You need to go and write yours.
I know.
I know.
That's the thing. I know. I need to maybe stop doing all this podcasting lark and go and finish the thing. I've got a contract to do. The thing with podcasts as well is you're kind of like being quite open, aren't you? And I always think that I'm always kind of admire that in your writing, Kate. How you're very open and you talk about like things in your life, things that have happened to you and stuff. In podcasts, people kind of do that as well. Do you think it's like? I find that a bit hard sometimes to kind of talk about myself and like things that have happened. How do you feel about that? Did it take like practice to do that? It's
interesting that you mentioned that, actually, because obviously we're walking side by side and talking, and I think there's been research that has found that that's actually the best formation to get someone to open up, is just to walk kind of side by side. You're not making eye contact, and driving as well obviously is the same formation, like you're sat next to each other and looking ahead. So there's actually a brilliant short film, Runners. I think I was mentioning it to you.
You told me about Runners.
I think it's called The Runners, where someone just took a camera and interviewed joggers in Victoria Park, and they just really open up to the filmmaker about these amazing, intimate stories. But when it comes to my writing, I suppose it's something that I've kind of got used to over the years, and for me it's like it's second nature now to kind of just be so open about my personal life. But I forget that obviously other people in my life, like my friends and my family and my partner, maybe might not be so up for having their deepest, darkest secrets spilled in print for everyone to read. So
I'm sure no one really minds though, do they? I think they're probably everyone just likes.
Say that. I don't know. I mean,
have you ever had issues?
Well, yes, and also I do feel sorry a bit for Guy sometimes when my column is about like our sex life, and he's like, my mum reads this magazine.
Right.
So
how does Guy's mum feel about? You and Guy's sex life being.
I think she loves it. I mean, she says she's a fan of the column, so we're all adults, so
exactly.
I think she's used to it.
And I think we live in like so much more open times now, don't we? People talk about way more, as they should. Like, who cares about anything? Like, we should be open about stuff. It's good to have dialogue, and for people's mental health as well. It's important to have like that freedom of choice and be able to talk about stuff, isn't it? But it's quite funny when you think about people's mums reading stuff. I wonder if anyone's mum, it maybe, doesn't know so much about certain things. They maybe have to Google what does this thing
term mean?
Yeah, exactly. What are they?
I dread to think. Yeah. I mean, the other thing that's nice about it though is that I found when you do share that stuff, and you are kind of feeling you're most vulnerable, that's when it really resonates with people. And I've definitely had people come up to me, when I've written pieces about getting divorced or pieces about anxieties about not having kids or that kind of thing, some really raw and kind of personal stuff. People have kind of written to me to say, this made me feel so much better, or this really spoke to me. And so when you get feedback like that, I suppose you kind of understand why you're laying it all out there.
Yeah, and you should see that as proof that what you're doing has a value and that it affects people in a positive way, because I felt that as well. I've read about things that you've written about your mum. My mum's been on a sort of similar journey to that. Those difficulties with a mum that's not always talked about, and obviously the thing with your divorce and the the idea of breakups and things, which are probably the most difficult things that we ever have to go through. People talk about grief, no way. Obviously, breakups, divorces, that's way tougher.
They're painful.
It's painful, exactly. And I think it's good to kind of read about how other people have survived that and kind of found a way through that. And I think that bravery is really, really important. And I love that people write to you and say that they've been kind of positively affected by that. That's really nice.
It really does. It really does touch me when I get those messages. And actually, I had a cool thing the other day, and that someone stopped me and said, "Are you Kate Wills?" And I was like, "Oh my god, feel totally famous."
Was that when you had the wardrobe malfunction?
It actually wasn't, but it could have been. Me and Chris were just talking about embarrassing skirt hitched into bag situation that I had. But no, the woman came up to me and said, you Kate Wills, I read your book and I just split up with my boyfriend and now I've booked a trip to Barbados on my own. And I was like, amazing.
That's brilliant.
That makes me feel so great.
That's incredible. So you've had such an effect on her. She's going to Barbados by herself.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess she was kind of also inspired by the women I talk about in the book, who have done these amazing journeys, as I was inspired by them too. And I think solo travel is great and everyone should try it. You obviously travel a lot too. Yeah. By yourself. Is that a dead pigeon?
We've just been talking about quite... now, unfortunately, that was a crow eating a pigeon that's not even dead.
That's so sad.
Yeah, that's actually not very nice.
What happened to it?
I don't know. It's the brutality of nature, isn't it?
It is. Red in tooth and claw.
Indeed.
I feel like we should put it out of its misery.
Shall we? Oh my God.
I don't know with what though. Not with your little old man microphone.
I don't think the old man microphone will help.
Oh no, that's so sad.
That is pretty horrible. So parks aren't always.
It's not the bucolic idyll that you've been told about, kids.
Not always. I think we'll finish in a bit.
We can't end on that note. That's so depressing.
Half-dead pigeon. No, I prefer to end on what that woman said to you. I think that's fantastic and very.
Wasn't it? And wasn't it great for the old ego?
You must have loved that.
My friend who I was with was like, "Does that happen all the time?" And I should have started it out and been like, all the time. It's so annoying. But instead, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm like overjoyed. That's never happened before."
Are You Kate Wills is a great opener.
I mean, I was scared that it was some
crazy stalker.
arm of the law. No, I was like, "Oh God, I'm about to get arrested for all my misdeeds." They finally caught up with me.
What misdeeds would they be?
Use your imagination. No worse than yours, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Wanted in 50 states.
It's actually only 49, but I can't go I could basically only go back to Alaska, but anyway.
Okay. You like it cold.
So yeah, we'll round things off, but obviously, your book is coming out in America. Well, we'll be out in America by the time this drops, as I think they say in the podcast world.
They do.
Paperback coming out in the UK.
Yes.
And are you thinking about like writing any other books or doing any other kind of
I'm trying to kind of work on a novel, but I feel
we talked about that briefly, didn't we?
I feel like everyone is trying to work on a novel, so I'm joining that crew.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It might just be for fun, or it might be something more.
I'm sure it'll be brilliant, whatever it is.
Thank you, Chris.
You're a great writer, and I look forward to the novel and do more of the A Trip of One's Own podcast as well.
I should do another series of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A professionally produced podcast.
About that.
Unlike this one.
There were no dead pigeons in that though.
No,
so,
I was just
it was
like
lacking that.
I was making us avoid that dead pigeon.
No, there's some other pigeons.
Oh God!
They're like mourning it. They're having a funeral.
It's absolutely horrific.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh dear.
Tragedy in St Thomas's Garden.
Yeah, that's the headline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll finish there. Kate Wills, thank you for talking to me.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Loved
Cheers,
it.
Kate. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Park Date. There's lots more where that came from, and there'll be more in the future as well. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review, good or bad, make them funny. I'll be reading out the best ones, and there'll be a prize for the one that makes me laugh the most. Name check some trees in your reviews and leave them wherever you get your podcasts from. Check out our website, parkdate.co.uk, and if you see me walking around in the park, come and say hello. I think that was the sound of someone sneezing. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye. On the next episode of Park Date, it's time to chat to Cheryl Werrell, singing sensation and former member of Bushwick Nonette, my frenemy's frenemy. Cheryl tells us about her new album. Well, yeah, it's the sound of gelato, teen movies, butterfly kisses, and flea markets. And I'm sorry about my slight lisp because I am wearing Invisalign. Thank you. And also, we talk to COVID test supremo Orient Jean and ask him how the hell he came up with his awful designs for the boxes of COVID tests. All this and more coming up on the next hilarious installment of Park Date.